And hey everyone, this is Chris, MTGO's Rick Start, back with part 2 in this week's show and tell. And now we are going to be taking a look at AJMP's Monoblue Wizards list, which I really liked. And it only finished 2-2 in the event, but I think it looked to be a very strong deck. And you don't see Monoblue Wizards very often anymore. You tend to see more of the sort of four-color good stuff wizards when you see the tribe, but they are a traditionally blue tribe, and he has certainly a lot of powerful cards in here. For a guy who just sold his collection off, he managed to get a set of Vidalcan Shackles back into the mix here pretty quickly, and this reminds me apparently that I need to try to pick some of these up while Modern Masters gets the price down on them a little bit. He's got a Delver of Secrets, and of course you know from playing Standard, if you do, that a hand with a couple of Delver of Secrets and you get lucky on flips, or you manage to snag one with Ponder, can just pretty much win you the game. And he's got counter magic here to back that up, and also some really solid tempo plays here, so that his if he gets an early flip Delver, he can try to ride that to victory. He's got Aether Adept, a strong tempo play, and Fade Away, which is an interesting one. I've looked at this before and thought about how I might play it. It's a little bit like the pirate cycle from Mercadian Masks in some way, except that it's symmetrical, and you cast this as a sorcery, and presumably you casting this on your turn, and if you don't have any guys out, of course it's doesn't punish you at all, and you might be able to choke your opponent's mana development if he's put out a few early guys, although of course that doesn't do anything about the guys that are on the table if they are going to kill you, but tactically used, you can turn this thing into a blowout, especially if you have a little more mana available at the time you cast it, because you're casting on your turn. Hopefully they've tapped out, and you have untapped mana left after casting this, and you can set your opponent back significantly with this. You can also, with this playset of Vidalcan Shackles here, you can sack off a creature that you stole with Shackles, for instance, and then gain control of another one with the Shackles next turn if you want to do that. Sage of Fables, I guess, is a draw engine in here. It allows his wizards to be bigger when they come into play, which is fine. It's kind of like the Elf Warrior guy as far as the wizard version of that. And it allows you to remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control and draw a card. So you also have a lot of bouncy stuff here. So I mean, if you had a ton of mana, you could try to do some shenanigans with I suppose bounce your own Aether Adept, remove the counter in response. I mean, if you're going real deep. But anyways, interesting choice here as the Wizard Lord that he employs. And up here, he's got 3 Fencers and 1 Sower, and these are all good answers to show and tell decks, which you don't not necessarily going to see, but during regular tribal you may very likely see Nagarjuna plays one sometimes, and if you expect to get near the top tables, it's not bad having cards like this. And so he's only got 1 Sower of Temptation. The Sower of Temptation is a card I like. I play in Blue Fairies. I play a couple copies. Of course, the problem is that there's a lot of instant speed removal out there, so if you're just if you're not playing him against an unfair deck, that's trying to cheat Eldrazi in a play, when you're doing that, he's great. But if you're playing him against a regular deck, they can just sort of blow you out mid-combat with a removal spell, which is likely why he only went with 1 copy of this and 3 copies of Venser, which, although it doesn't grab the creature for your side, it does bounce it, and it comes in instant speed with flash, so you can bounce the creature that they played on their turn at the end of their turn, and it's just a huge tempo advantage. So again, it's all about getting that early Delver of Secrets. He doesn't necessarily have to have it to win the game. He has some reach here, but if he does get an early Delver that flips, he can protect it, tempo his opponent out fairly well here. The Teferis are pretty good at shutting down, or perfect at really at shutting down opposing counter magic. You don't see that a lot in the event, but it does give you the advantage that you can flash in all of your creatures, which is again good against counterspell decks, but also good just tactically, especially when you have all these bouncing effects and things like that. And Una up here is the basically the finisher. She's 5/5 for 6. I've never played with Una myself in a constructed deck. I did get to see some of the work she did in Modern Masters Draft this past weekend, and everybody that opened an Una was pretty happy with it. She's pretty tough to beat. So I mean, if you can drop an Una and protect her sufficiently, she should be able to win you the game. So a nice deck that has some early aggression and some good tempo plays here, but doesn't just abandon the long game. So a very well constructed deck from AJ as always. And probably the most interesting thing in here, the 2 lands that aren't islands. There's one Riptide Laboratory, which that's fine. It bounces your guys and you can reuse their effects and everything like that. You would expect to see a Riptide Laboratory, or even 2 possibly. But the 1 Caracas with nothing to do with white mana here at all, in a deck that wants islands for Vidalcan Shackles, would only here I can presume for decks that are, again, trying to cheat in ludicrously big legendary creatures. It does have some minor utility just in general. People do play with legendary creatures that this will hit. Just sort of random, break up a Kiki Jiki combo, that kind of thing. It's just amazing to me how much Caracas has become sort of a mainstay of the format. Now he can use this to bounce his own Vencers, and it could be backup protection for Teferi and Una. Again, kind of a corner case because Riptide Lab is presumably better than that and more versatile at doing that exact same thing, even though it does cost more mana to activate. So maybe that's an argument to keep it in there for that purpose, or maybe that just puts the fact that it has all this other utility added to it, kind of puts it over the edge and goes, okay, let's go ahead and run it. But anyways, really like the deck. Glad to be able to feature one of AJ's decks, and join me for the next part in just a moment.